Let's talk about the over-under of 54.5, guys. So I mentioned earlier in the show, I would take the under. It's probably a stay-away line anyway, but if I was to bet it, I would take the under. And I want to be very clear in saying that that's not because I believe the Celtics are going to be a bad team or they're going to underachieve, or they're going to fall short in the playoffs, they can't win a title, any of that. I would simply go under, meaning they're going to win somewhere in the 50 to 54 range. I still don't see sub 50 happening, but 50 in the 54 range, because I just think they're going to be uber conscious of who they are and what they are, and they're not going to force it. They're not going to care about their seed. They're not going to chase number one. They're not going to, home court isn't going to be an end all be all. They are going to look at their personnel and say, Kristaps Porzingis needs to be managed. We haven't even gotten into the plantar fasciitis yet. We will. He needs to be managed. Al Horford needs to be managed for his age. Malcolm Brogdon, coming off the injury, needs to be managed. Rob Williams needs to be managed. Like there's and that doesn't mean specifically load management. Maybe there's a percentage of games that guys miss, and like Porzingis, get the duck boats ready if he even plays in 60 games. But we're talking about, it's more minutes being managed when I say that. And I think you need to be conscious, not conservative, but conscious of the Jays minutes as well. So this team coming in sub 55 wins is super realistic to me. And I would be more inclined, Barrett, to go in that direction than I would be to say they're going to win 55 plus.
CLNS Media Network is powered by Fanduel Sportsbook. Visit fanduel.com/Boston and start earning bonus bets when you bet on a Super Bowl winner. You can get bonus bets every time they win in the regular season.
Yeah, it's good. It's a good line. That's why they have casinos in Vegas. I would say I would go over. I just think that this team is going to be way better offensively, even though they had one of the best offenses in the league. I think they're going to score easier, right? Because of the fact that, and I know like the whole thing with Porzingis, but I just think about the matchups you can use. Like if it was me and I look at what I'm doing if I'm Missoula, I would basically have, and I chatted with Michael Pina about this a couple of weeks ago, I would have Jalen and Porzingis on the court together, because we know that Jalen has issues at times with his ball handling. Porzingis is a floor spacer. He can be a roll man as well. It just makes the read so much easier for Jalen when he's handling the ball. So I would have those two guys on the court together. And then I would have Tatum playing the minutes with Rob, where we know Tatum and Rob, I mean, look at the impact metrics with those two guys on the court together the past couple of years. So I think when you're talking about the non-Tatum minutes that have been an issue over the past couple of years, this should be your best chance to actually have those be good. And you look at Porzingis last year, he was through the roof in the impact metrics, and it's not like he had a lot of good teammates when he was playing with the Washington Wizards, right? So I just think that and this is a situation that we ask questions about during the playoffs for the past years. What are they doing when Tatum is off the court? I think that Joe Mazzulla and that coaching staff should be able to come up with lineups that really you can actually play well when Tatum's off the court. And I actually think you can even keep Derek White on the court with Jalen and Porzingis as well, because what we've seen with Tatum, it really doesn't matter who plays with them. Like when he's on the court, they're always going to have a good offensive rating. If you have Rob out there with him, and I'd like him to play more minutes with Pritchard too this season. It's weird. Like 2 years ago, their numbers with Pritchard on the court, they actually played at a slower pace, which I thought was really weird. But his most used lineups, he had Al Horford in there. In his second most used lineups, he had Daniel Tice in there. Like Pritchard, one of the things when I watch him, I'm like, it doesn't match up with the numbers because he's always pushing the basketball, right? So I think with Pritchard out there too, you can play at a faster pace. So that's why I'd go over, just because I think that they're going to get back to their defensive identity, even though Smart is out of the equation. That certainly needs to be emphasized more. Despite them being number 2 in the league, we saw in the playoffs, they certainly did not play like the number 2 defense in the league. But the other portion of it, I think offensively, they are more talented from a personnel perspective, even if they have less capable rotation players. They have more offensive firepower.
Yeah,
think about this, though. The lack of talent in that conference. Like, a lot of talent moved to the other conference. Like, what teams really scared you? I mean, obviously there's schedule losses and you're not going to win them all. I get that.
Well, you're also not only playing the East. I mean, you are seeing the West. That's true,
but you're playing the majority of your games against your conference, right? You're playing the majority of your games against a division that, I mean, look, the Knicks are the Knicks gave the Celtics all they could handle last year. That's not saying that the Knicks are a bad opponent, but the Knicks and the Celtics, I think, are in two different tiers, right? The Nets are kind of a wild card in here. Like, I like a lot of the guys in their team, but does it make a lot of sense? I mean, the Raptors are, come on, like their own division's not great. If you go to the rest of the conference, it's not tremendous. Like, they're going to get a lot of easy wins potentially if they just stay healthy. Never mind that. Look at what about the last year makes you think Miami's going to go crazy for the number 1 seed this year? Not going to happen. Look at the Bucks.
Yeah, they could be tougher though. Because the whole Lillard thing's out there. But I'm with you for the most part. I agree with what you're saying.
The Bucks, is as much as we care about the Celtics' health problems, which is definitely something they should be worried about, the Bucks have also health problems. Like, Brook Lopez is super old. Chris Middleton hasn't looked the same since that injury. I mean, I like Drew Holiday, but a lot of times Drew Holiday goes for like 5 for 17 from the floor. Like, I don't think it's like a super tough conference for Boston to rack up wins in. I think knowing the injury thing, yeah, sure, they're going to manage guys down the stretch, but I still think the over is possible, pending some injury luck. And
of course it's possible. I just don't, it's the one thing I didn't say before, but implied. I don't think that they're definitely, to Brian's point, they are absolutely more top heavy than they were last year. There's more talent, in the upper echelon of this team. I'm concerned they're not as deep as they were last year for when injuries do happen, and they're going to happen.
Yeah, the one thing that they do benefit from is 2 of their best 3 players, I guess 2 of their best 4 players, are never hurt. And knock on wood that doesn't happen. But Tatum,
I'd say 3.
Yeah. Well, you say who you put else in there, Jalen?
Jalen, White, Tatum.
Yeah, I was going to say White and Tatum. Like, Jalen's had his issues, but you're right. For the most part, he stays healthy. But Tatum, we mentioned earlier the Charlotte thing. Like, he plays in every game, and Derek White literally plays in every game. He played in 82 games last season. He legitimately plays in every game. So, yeah, when you have those 2 guys that are going to play most of the games, Derek White, I'm sure, is going to want to do it again where he plays every game next season. I think it's just really beneficial. And the other thing I would say, too, is one of the things last year that they went to not as much as I would have liked them to go to. And part of that is because Marcus Smart was on the team. And this is not me taking a shot at Marcus, but the numbers with Derek White at the point guard position last season, when he actually played point guard via cleaning the glass, 21% of his minutes, only 21%. So about a fifth of his minutes. The Celtics, and in those minutes, 121.9 offensive rating, 93rd percentile, 106.2 defensive rating, 96th percentile, plus 15.7 net rating, 99th percentile. Because he's the smallest guy in the court, but he's also an all NBA defender. You have these big wings around him. You can play double big. So just getting more Derek White minutes in terms of at the point guard position, and to something we mentioned earlier with Marcus Smart, everybody put the blame on him. The one thing I will say is Derek White, I mean, we had these conversations. He should have got more 4th quarter minutes. There's no reason that you had both Marcus Smart and Brogdon average more 4th quarter minutes than Derek White last season. He was unequivocally the Celtics' 3rd best player. You could make an argument from an impact metric standpoint. He was their 2nd best player. He should have been on the court in the 4th quarter. So I think having that lineup out there with White and with Tatum and with Brown at the end of these games, they're going to be much better closing out games. And I know their record was fine in clutch games last season, but they're going to be better when it comes to execution late in games.
CLNS Media Network is powered by Fanduel Sportsbook. Visit fanduel.com/Boston and start earning bonus bets when you bet on a Super Bowl winner. You can get bonus bets every time they win in the regular season.